I have spent 8 months watching XRP do absolutely nothing, and that is exactly why I can't sleep tonight, because when a rocket sits silent for this long, either the fuel is empty or it's about to singe everybody's eyebrows. So picture this, it's 2 AM, lights off, only the glow of my dual monitors casting ghost faces on my coffee mug. When Bitcoin's kind of taking this lazy laps around the kind of pool and Ethereum's checking its phone every 10 seconds, but XRP is just sitting there like the quiet kid in the back row, head down, doodling equations that the rest of us can't read yet. And that weird stillness is why you and I need to talk. So here's the deal. For 8 straight months, XRP has hugged the upper deck, hovering above its previous peak close, from way back in 2017 mania, roughly the same kind of stretch of time that it takes for a brand new Taylor Swift album to go diamond. Now, traders, they call this consolidation. I call it the part in a horror movie when the music stops and the door creaks open. Now, most people say, it's dead money, but a handful of analysts that I trust are whispering, shh, it's loading the cannons. Now, before we sprint down that particular rabbit hole, let me toss you a quick heads up. And if you decide to kind of trade, the Kraken Pro link in the description is an affiliate link. Clicking it costs you absolutely nothing, but kicks a small thank you back to the channel. It's cool, right? Pretty cool. And while you're doing housekeeping, there's also a free educational Discord server linked down below where I nerd out daily with thousands of other chart junkies. It costs you nothing again, and you can lurk silently or share meme charts all night. It's totally your call. All right, let's get back to the thriller. Analyst 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋, yep, that's the guy whose Twitter header looks like Wall Street Bets met the Matrix, points out that XRP is one of the only large caps showing clean, impulsive price action since breaking free from the kind of 50-cent dungeon. So let's think of that move as XRP cracking open the basement window after 6 years of being grounded. Since then, the price has been pacing between roughly $2 and $3, ping-ponging like it's kind of storing kinetic energy. Now, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝘀's theory? It's quite simple. The longer that it paces, the harder that it sprints. Enter Nick, not myself, but aka the Crypto Crusader, founder of Web3 Alert, and fun fact, the only person that I know who can pound an energy drink and instantly fall asleep. Strange. Now, Nick's angle is even spicier, right? He's reminding everyone that XRP has held above the $2 line for 32 weeks straight. That's 32 weekly candles posting up like security guards saying, "You shall not pass" to the bears. Meanwhile, of course, social media impatience is hitting toddler in a checkout line levels. Only this time the screaming is silence. People simply stopped talking about it. So let's zoom out then, right? Bitcoin dominance is still kind of clocking in north of 60%. Now picture a high school dance where Bitcoin is the kind of jock, hogging the DJ booth while every altcoin kind of waits for a slow song. Now, historically, once that dominance drops, capital kind of stampedes outwards, and projects like XRP go from kind of wallflower to prom king in 3 songs flat. Now, previous cycles have delivered 5x, 10x, even 15x bursts during that phase. That's kind of like ordering a latte and getting a free espresso machine tossed in just for fun. But let's go ahead and talk about the elephant, or should I say the coiled spring in the room: human psychology. Now, boredom is the ultimate test, right? Picture yourself at the gym, holding a plank. First 30 seconds, you're an absolute beast. Minute 2, your brain begins kind of bargaining organs, for mercy, right? By minute 3, you've kind of signed a treaty with the sofa, right? XRP's been kind of planking for 8 months straight. And most observers have already kind of walked away to kind of grab protein shakes. The crowd thinning out is precisely what creates asymmetric opportunities. And yet, here's the part that gives even seasoned traders jelly knees, right? The potential range of outcomes is wide, right? Day trader, crypto wizard, name spelled with a Z, because vowels are, for quitters after all. He says that one more bullish weekly candle could catapult XRP to $4, roughly a double from where it is today. Meanwhile, Credible throws down a much wilder gauntlet, right? 20 to 40 by cycle end. Now that's kind of like telling your grandma her vintage lamp might secretly be a kind of, Fabergé egg, right? Possible, sure, probable, depends on how many Fabergé eggs, we've actually ever seen. You can let me know how many you've seen in the comments. So let's pause the hype train for just a heartbeat here and look at some cold hard numbers. Now, according to Coinmetrics, XRP's daily active addresses have quietly ticked up 12% during this so-called boring stretch. Now, on-chain volume, it still lags the kind of late 2024 peak, but shows a steady uptick, suggesting that while speculators kind of nap, builders keep coding. Now, if you're wondering, where those metrics came from, triple checked. Footnote kind of lovely stipped in, obviously, data T. You can check out the Discord for more. Now, I'm going to level with you. I almost sold my personal stash of XRP 2 months ago. True story. I was sitting in my apartment's laundry room scrolling the charts between drier cycles thinking, maybe I'll rotate into that hot new meme coin, with kind of possum mascot. Then I kind of looked closer. 8 months of higher lows, tightening Bollinger Bands, relative strength index kind of coiling like a spring. Selling then would be like quitting a Netflix series on episode 7 of 8 episode season, right? Because the dialogue kind of got slow. Which brings me to one of the most underrated superpowers in crypto, controlled boredom, right? Everybody loves the adrenaline, right? Few kind of cherish the stillness. Now, if markets are a boxing match, then consolidation is the round where fighters kind of circle. They blink sweat out of their eyes and plan the next knockout. Now, amateur kind of spectators, they kind of head to the concession stand during that section, but the pros, they just actually lean forward. Now, this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video today is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are going to be liable for any losses. And today's video is purely for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, deep breath. Let's get technical for just a minute, right? If you're kind of chart inclined, consider the monthly time frame, right? XRP's candle bodies have closed above that old 2017-2018 neighborhood for 8 consecutive prints. Now that's the kind of technical equivalent of a landlord refusing to lower rent even during off season, right? Support flips to resistance and resistance, well, it flips to support. It's the kind of circle of life, Simba kind of moment. And of course, the longer that the support holds, the more dramatic the eventual altitude. Now, I hear you. What about the catalysts? Well, the lawsuit elephant has largely shuffled off stage. Regs are a little bit clearer, and Ripple's enterprise corridors keep expanding under the radar. Hell, I just read a snippet about an Asian remittance partnership publishing and pushing ODL volumes back to all-time highs. Quietly, of course, because screaming about, product market fit is apparently kind of passé in 2025. Meanwhile, of course, Nick's Web3 alert data feed shows that whale wallets, the ones holding north of 10 million XRP, have grown their collective stash by 4% since February. Now that's kind of like huge icebergs kind of, migrating south while seagulls argue on the surface, right? When big money packs its bags in silence, I definitely do perk up. But let's not pretend that this ride is risk-free, right? A surprise macro rug, a Fed rate shock, black swan hacks, a billionaire tweeting absolute nonsense, could of course smack everything down 15% before your coffee cools. Now, playing defense, might mean setting alerts, stop orders, or simply kind of sizing positions so a nasty wick doesn't wreck your weekend. And speaking of playing defense, one of the easiest ways to trade responsibly is to use an exchange that doesn't feel like a 1997 dial-up website. Now, Kraken Pro has been my go-to for quite some time. It's got transparent fees, battle-tested security, and the interface won't give you MySpace flashbacks. For full honesty, the Kraken Pro link in the description is an affiliate link that supports the channel here. So if you choose to open an account through it, you're basically buying me a metaphorical coffee while getting the same trading experience. The coffee keeps these midnight chart sessions alive, of course. And by the way, for complete transparency, you can obviously use any exchange that you like. I just happen to enjoy Kraken's depth charts and the fact that they support team, answered my last ticket faster than my pizza delivery actually arrived. Now, that said, you should always pick the venue that fits with your own risk tolerance and jurisdictions. There's a whole host of different exchanges available via the link in the description. Okay, so it's story time. 2 weeks ago, I was kind of grabbing a shawarma with a buddy who flips houses by day and chart altcoins by night. Now, I showed him XRP's weekly chart on my phone. He glanced, he shrugged, and said, "Flatline, bro." I smiled. I tucked the phone away and said, "Ever heard of tectonic plates?" Now, they move millimeters a year, I told him, until they move 6 feet in one, or at least all at once, and rewrite coastlines. Now, he stared at his kind of pitter like it had just shifted under him. The metaphor kind of landed and the shawarma didn't. Now, should you kind of mortgage the farm for a hypothetical tsunami? Absolutely not. Refer back to the legal-sized disclaimer that I dropped earlier. But if you're the type of investor who appreciates asymmetric bets with clear invalidation points, well, XRP's Coil might be worth a sticky note on your monitor. Remember, boredom is a feature, it's not a bug. So let's talk expectation management, right? If analysts like 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍 are right, a move to $4 could come pretty fast. Think sprint, not marathon. And you know what happens after sprints, right? Athletes gasp for air. That means, blow off tops, retracements, and all the glorious volatility that turns new traders into walking anxiety. So if you ever kind of catch yourself fist pumping over green candles, please set an exit strategy before the adrenaline rewrites your IQ. And then there's Credibull's moonshot range, $20 to $40. Now I can hear the keyboard warriors already. That's clickbait. Maybe, maybe not. So if previous cycle math extends, and it's a big if, right? 20 isn't unthinkable, right? We're just talking about psychology and supply dynamics, sure, but also regulatory clarity and global liquidity cycles. In other words, a dozen variables they need to align like planets for that horizon. Does that mean that it cannot happen? Absolutely not. But treating it as guaranteed is like betting your life savings on catching the exact moment that, Halley's Comet, reappears. It's possible, sure, but maybe don't sell the house. So here's a quick pit stop then. If you kind of stuck around this far and you haven't hopped into the free Discord, you're missing half of the fun. That is where I post the charts that I kind of squeeze into all these videos and, yes, the occasional dad joke at 3 AM. Our mod team is friendly, the vibe is collaborative, and you have to at least have a dedicated kind of prove me wrong channel, I guess, for healthy debates. Seriously, it's completely free, it's educational, and there's no NFT minting wall or weird subscription funnel, just a door. The link is in the description. All right, so it's climax time, the narrative moment where we kind of stare into the crystal ball and own our own kind of choices. Imagine waking up one morning then to find XRP trading at $4.20, trending on every feed, and your favorite influencer or finfluencer, suddenly kind of back from the sabbatical, and mainstream finance kind of shows debating whether kind of alt season is real or, something else is going on this time. Will you be the person, frantically FOMO buying at breakfast, or the very calm soul executing a pre-planned exit while buttering your toast? The outcomes, they hinge on plans made during the boring nights like this. Personally, I've set layered sell orders on the way up. Tiny slices at 4, 6, 10, and yes, a lottery ticket order at 25. If gravity prevails earlier, then I lose a little more than opportunity cost. If it rockets, at least if that rocket roars, well, my future self gets a high five. Risk is defined and the anxiety is tamed. So as we kind of drift towards the wrap up here, let's kind of zoom back to why we should even care, right? If it isn't, just about the dollars, right? It's actually about having a thesis and sticking to it and learning the discipline of deliberate patience, right? Watching XRP Coil has taught me more about emotional management than any green candle ever could, right? Anyone can, of course, celebrate the fireworks, but very few can admire a fuse. And so, the key takeaways? Well, consolidation can be camouflage. Boredom is an information filter, and the loudest move often begins in whispers. If analysts are right here, when we're in that kind of hush-hush stretch right before the stadium lights flicker on. And if they're wrong, well, at least you got a masterclass in patience and hopefully a good shawarma recipe. But until then, you want to keep your tabs open, your emotions in check, and remember, in crypto, the quiet charts often tell the loudest stories, and if you learn to listen long enough, well, you can definitely hear it too. I'll catch you all in the next one.